How y'all doing? My name is Tyler Porsche, and today we're going to talk about a very important topic. We're going to talk about recognizing the signs and symptoms of drug and alcohol use in the workplace. This is something that affects every job site, every office space, anything we can think of, any field. It does not discriminate. This is something that can affect anybody. So, before we jump into what signs and symptoms we're looking for, should look and try to understand what could cause these situations to come up. So, if we notice an employee has been going through a depressive state or he's having issues with other mental illness, this could lead them to drugs and alcohol abuse. If we have an increased workload, if we're time crunching for a certain project or something along those lines, we're constantly increasing the workload of our employees, they could turn to alcohol or drug abuse to help them cope. Being unable to unwind. So, if somebody is unable to unwind, they're not able to relax, they're constantly in a stressed state, they're going to look for something that's going to help them unwind. I can tell you from experience, I've worked in places where I've been told by coworkers I was exhibiting some signs of stress. I was told by other coworkers, hey, just go ahead and start drinking. That was the way that some of them coped. I don't know about y'all, but I'm not really in the business of gaining an alcohol addiction just because of a job. They could be having some family issues. So, mom might be sick, might be some turmoil in the family, whatever, anything like that. They could have financial stress. Inflation is hitting everybody pretty hard. I completely understand that as well. So, that could be an issue. They're constantly stressing over finances, not able to pay certain bills, and then other medical problems. So, is the person or the personnel that we are looking at, are they experiencing any other kind of medical problems right now? Are they going through cancer treatments? Or are they going through any kind of other stuff that might lend them to go ahead and start using drugs or alcohol? So some facts we want to go over about drugs and alcohol use. So in 2023, the American Addiction Center went ahead and published a survey. And that survey showed that about 22.5% of those people surveyed were using drugs and alcohol during work hours. That equated to about 1 in 4 men and 1 in 5 females. Just under 8% of those surveys say they were drunk or high on a daily basis on the work premises. That is an extreme issue. If somebody gets hurt with drugs or alcohol, that could lead to them hurting themselves, damaging equipment, or worse, killing somebody or themselves. That can go ahead and produce a giant burden for us to have to take care of later on. So they also, in the study, went ahead and ranked the different abuses of alcohol or drugs. The top one was alcohol. Second place was marijuana, and in third place, Adderall and Ritalin. So the impact, why is this important to us? So alcohol abusers are 2.7% or 2.7 times more likely to have workplace accidents. So positive marijuana tests have continued to climb since 2018, and now they're up by about 5.6%. So these are very important for us to go ahead and understand. And in 2021, a study done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics showed that there were 465 deaths due to unintentional overdoses at work. Being a firefighter, this is something we continue to see climb as well. Unintentional overdoses have spiked in the past 7 years that I've been a firefighter. So what are we looking for? What are we testing for? Under 49 CFR 40, we are looking for the following. We're looking for alcohol. We're looking for marijuana. Could be called weed or pot. We're looking for cocaine, opiates, amphetamines, methamphetamines, and PCP. So why is this important? It's extremely important for us to go ahead and be involved in this on the job site, because if not, that can lead to accidents, injuries, or even death. Millions and millions upon dollars of us getting sued or something like that because we didn't stop this ahead of time. We should always use reasonable suspicion. If we have reasonable suspicion to believe somebody's under the influence, we should get them tested, because if not, we are going to be on the hook for that. If you have reasonable suspicion that any employee is under the influence of drugs or alcohol, you have a duty to act. Get that employee tested immediately. So we'll get into the signs and symptoms to help show you what we're looking for when we are establishing reasonable suspicion. So if we're looking at alcohol, could be just a simple smell of alcohol. So if the employee is standing around, you smell something like that, we could use that as reasonable suspicion to get them tested. If they have bloodshot eyes, if they have unsteady or unbalanced movements, if they're wobbly, if they're having trouble walking, if they have increased volume of voice, so if they constantly are raising their voice at you, if they're having excessive mood changes, so if they're constantly moody, they're flipping from happy to sad to angry very quickly, that could be an issue as well. Sleeping or grogginess, so if they're falling asleep on the premises or something like that, could be another sign. Or if they're avoiding superiors, so if you're a supervisor and they are constantly avoiding you, trying to hide from you, that could be an issue right there as well. We're looking for marijuana use. We could see a lack of attention, so it could be kind of spaced out. They might not hear everything you're saying to them, even if you're talking to them directly. They could have a delayed reaction time. This is extremely dangerous if we're operating heavy equipment, forklifts, trucks, anything like that as well. They could have poor depth perception, so if you could see them stumbling around because they can't quite spot their footing, especially on stairs. They could have an increased appetite, so they're always hungry, always snacking on something, having issues there. They could have memory problems. So we could give them 3 or 4 tasks and they only remember the first task we gave them. If they're constantly doing that, they could be a sign of prolonged marijuana use. They could have poor decision making. So they might start cutting corners when it comes to safety and going ahead and taking the unsafe route for certain tasks. They could also have a sense of fear, panic, or paranoia. So they might always constantly be on edge, looking around, wide-eyed, stuff like that. We're looking for cocaine. We could notice that they might have dilated pupils. There might also be leftover residue on their mouth or on their nose. They could have constant mood swings, once again, going from super happy to super sad or to very angry very quickly. They could increase their risky behaviors, so they could be taking adverse risks at work. They could have an excessive amount of energy, so they could be bouncing off the walls, running all over the place, having a very upbeat tone to their voice where they are constantly speaking very quickly, talking faster, at a faster pace than normal. Burn marks on their hands or lips, so depending on what kind of cocaine they are using, could lead to burn marks on the hands or the lips as well. Certain opiates. So this happens a lot. People get an injury. Let's say they hurt their shoulder. They get prescribed the pain medication, and then they are unable to wean themselves off of it once they are done with it. And then they start to try and use more opiates to aid in that problem. So they could have pinpoint pupils. They could have decreased respiratory rates. So if you have somebody that seems like they're constantly breathing very slow, could be an issue there as well. Drowsiness. So if the person is kind of just groggy, that doesn't seem like they're all there, could be one of the symptoms right there. They have flu-like symptoms such as vomiting or nausea. If they have changes in attitude, once again, this is something that's pretty much universal with all of these, is having mood swings. And if they are constantly sweating, could also be them coming down from not being on the opiate. And then we get to our amphetamines or our methamphetamines. So, once again, dilated pupils, shortness of breath. They could be grinding their teeth. One thing that people that are using meth or stuff like it, like crank, they will constantly be trying to use their mouth for an oral fixation. They could have a grinding of the teeth. They could be chewing on something. They could be sucking on a thumb, anything like that. They could have emotional outbursts. So something that they can't really control, they start freaking out. They lash out against others, that kind of thing. Paranoia or hallucinations. So that is very common with meth users. So it is very dangerous if they start to hallucinate in the workplace because they could think that something is happening, that they're in danger of something else, and then put others in danger because of that situation. We notice premature aging. So if we notice in this picture right here, that's why I included it. This is just a couple of examples of how rapidly methamphetamines will age you. So this picture was taken 2.5 years before this picture was taken here. Same deal with this one, another 2.5 years before this was taken. This is just over 3-month period on this bottom left one. And this one is a 1.5 years. So it will rapidly age you. We could also see that they have what we call meth mouth or facial sores. So like we see right here, they all constantly have blemishes, facial scars, stuff like that. Meth mouth also, if they are smoking meth or anything like that, you'll start to see burn marks on the lips as well as losing a lot of their teeth very quickly. If they're injecting meth, they could have track marks or injection sites. So if you're looking at the arms, which is a normal injection site, you could see needle marks there. And we get to our PCP. So if we're seeing that they're experiencing dizziness, excessive sweating, they're having muscle spasms. A lot of people that are on PCP, you'll see in the streets, if you watch videos of it, they'll be kind of moving around in a certain manner to where it looks like they're constantly spasming out. Decreased depth perception, again, once again, very dangerous if they are operating pieces of equipment. Hallucinations, respiratory distress, social withdrawal, and aggression. They will be extremely agitated or very easily agitated. So it's something we definitely need to look out for. All right, so now that we know these signs and symptoms, let's go ahead and test some of these out. So I have a couple scenarios for you guys to go ahead and figure out from there. So John has been a loyal employee to the company for about 20 years. Recently, you find out that he and his wife are getting a divorce. You start to notice that he has begun to show up late for work and has gotten into a few arguments with other employees. One morning, while doing your rounds, you notice John stumbling, and eventually he falls over. You go over to help him, and he seems very angry. You catch a whiff of what smells like alcohol. So 1, does reasonable suspicion exist? Well, he's stumbling around in the workplace. We know he has a history of having some issues at home right now, and when he talked to us, we smell alcohol. So that gives us reasonable suspicion right there. What type of drugs or alcohol do we think is present in the scenario? Well, obviously, we smell alcohol, so that's more than likely what's the problem. We have our second scenario here. So Sarah is a new employee at your office. She normally is a little shy and doesn't talk very much. As time goes on, you begin to notice that she has a pattern. Every day at the same time, she goes to the restroom and does not come out for a long period of time. When she comes out, she is usually super energetic and speaks very rapidly. One day after her normal bathroom trip, you notice that she has some white powder underneath her nose. Does reasonable suspicion exist? So, people that are using drugs will typically try to withdraw themselves from social situations to use. So, in this example, she's going to the bathroom. So we do notice that a little bit of white residue is underneath her nose. She's super energetic. She's constantly talking. She's bouncing off the walls. That could be a reasonable suspicion issue right there. And then what type of drugs or alcohol do we think are present? Obviously, we're thinking more along the lines of cocaine as being the drug of choice in this situation. Then we have scenario number 3. Billy is a foreman for your construction business and has been with the company for about 5 years now. Lately, his attitude towards others has changed quite a bit. The once happy-go-lucky man is now impatient and quick to anger. You also notice that he's begun to age rapidly and has developed numerous blemishes on his face. In addition, he has picked up some weird habits, like grinding his teeth and always wearing a jacket no matter the weather. One day, during a surprise job inspection, Billy rushes out of his truck to greet you. In his haste, he forgets to put on his jacket, and then you notice track marks in his arms. So, does reasonable suspicion exist here? So we're noticing the track marks, we're noticing the facial sores, we're noticing their rapid aging. So this is quite obvious that we are using some type of drug. So what type of drug or alcohol do we think might be present? We're more thinking along the lines of meth. Meth is going to induce rapid aging, the facial sores, and then we could still see the track marks there as well. All right, so I'll open it up for questions. If there are no questions, I just want to thank you for your time. I hope this made it a little bit easier for you to go ahead and spot drug and alcohol abuse in your workplace.